Rev up your engines!
J-Man says, will Ford ever bring the 300 six-cylinder engine back? Best engine Ford ever made. Well, I kind of doubt that they will, because they've gotten away from straight six-cylinder engines. They don't have the torque and horsepower that a V6 has. Ford's really going for V6. A lot of their big trucks now, they're throwing V6 with GDI gasoline and twin turbos on them to get horsepower. So I doubt if they'll bring back the straight six. And yeah, they were very dependable engines. They didn't have the horsepower, but they could run a really long time. If you really think about it, most companies don't want to make things that last a really long time because they want to sell you a new one every 4 or 5 years. You know, that's our society. People want to make money. Jacob Schmidt says, Scotty, what is the best hatchback made in the last 10 years? Yeah, I got one sitting in the driveway. You can't beat it. It's a Toyota Matrix. 2007. It was made in Cambridge, Ontario. And the funny thing is, they stopped making them a few years ago. But now I notice, now they're selling Toyota Corolla hatchbacks. Well, it's the Matrix. It's the same car. You can see by looking at it. They just didn't want to call it Matrix on its own. Now they're calling it Toyota Corolla hatchback because the Matrix was all based on the Corolla. Everything anyway. Same engine, same brakes, same transmission. And you can't beat them. They were the best ones that were made, and there's no arguing that. GDL30 says, hey, Scotty, should I use the thicker oil as my car increases in mileage? Thank you. Okay, it used to be true for all cars. When I was a kid, as cars got old, burn a little oil, we put a little heavier oil. But those were all push rod, cast iron engines. Now, with variable valve timing and some engines that use a 0W10 oil, you never want to put a heavier weight oil in them because they were designed for the lighter weight oil. And some of them do burn a little oil as they age, but you basically live with it. You don't want to put a heavier weight oil in it because they were designed for that, and they may not run right, and it can even wear them out faster. So with most modern cars, you don't want to mess with the viscosity. You want to stick with what you've been using all those years, what it says to use in the manual. Alex Quintana Isla says, Scotty, I have the opportunity to buy really cheap V6 front-wheel drive 87 Oldsmobile 98 Regency. Love the interior, but don't know about the transmission and motor. How difficult is it to rebuild a front-wheel drive transmission? Okay, that's an 87. That's one of the worst automatic transmissions GM ever made. When they started making those front-wheel drive ones, they had no idea what they were doing. But if you can get the car cheap enough, you can get a factory rebuilt transmission for those things. They weren't as complex as the new ones. They only had a few gears. They're not like the new ones that are 8, 9, 10 speeds. They're a lot simpler. And a really good transmission guy would have no problem rebuilding that one because it's simpler. If it needs rebuilding, doesn't work right, if you get the car cheap enough, why not? Have some fun. But don't pay much for it. You know, the value of that car is virtually nothing, maybe $500 or something. So don't pay much for it. Man damn says, Scotty, I got a 97 GMC Yukon, and every once in a while I hear a grinding noise when I brake and my headlights lower at the same time. Do I have to replace my wheel bearing? The headlights shouldn't have anything to do with that. The grinding could definitely be the wheel bearing. Check, pull the wheels off, make sure you're not low on brake pads or brake shoes anywhere. Could easily be a wheel bearing. Check that out. When you jack it up and spin the wheels, you hear any kind of rattling or having a little play on it. Braking your headlights lower at the same time. That's more often either your alternator is getting weak or you got a ground wire problem. GMs are known for having ground wire problems, and often ground wire problem, the headlights will get dim, but just go to a place like AutoZone. They'll check your battery and alternator free, and a lot of times it's your alternator just starting to wear out. Vinny Adams says, my family CX7 has a blown head gasket. I'm wondering if it's worth fixing. Those Mazdas, they have a lot of problems. If it's high mileage and it's old, I just get rid of it. You think it has a blown head gasket. It could be a lot worse. And my experience with those CX7s is they got that variable valve timing with the chain on it. That system often breaks down. They use a Motorcraft one on them. It's Ford and Mazda have some kind of relationship going on. They had a lot of problems with those in them too. You never really know if the only thing you have is a blown head gasket when you got a problem with the engine. And you only find out when you tear the engine apart and start looking at stuff. If it's high mileage, I wouldn't even fix it. I'd just junk the car and get rid of it. Because once you take that engine apart, if it's high mileage, it's probably going to need a full rebuild with pistons, bearings, and it's just not worth it on those things. In that case, if you could find a used engine in a junkyard that had low mileage on it, go ahead. A lot of guys do that. But when it comes to actually fixing those complicated engines, hardly anybody does that anymore.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.